There's a story about with a young man by the name of Deandre Arnold. Now, we talk about the war on black hair, and racism and white supremacy have a big issue with our hair. And it's something that is a great offense to them, especially when it comes to locks. They can't stand seeing that. They don't want the brothers to have their locks, especially the brothers. They on the women too, but the brothers, they take really offense to having locks. And they told this young brother that he had to cut his locks.
Get it? You don't understand locks because ain't none of y'all black.
On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a district that touts its excellence found itself embroiled in controversy about race, discrimination, and dreadlocks.
This is a black and white issue.
The dress code is designed by white people for white people that is damaging to black bodies.
Activists stood beside Deandre Arnold and his family as they addressed the Barbers Hill ISD school board. Deandre has been suspended and won't be able to walk at his graduation in 3 months unless he cuts his dreadlocks.
Deandre should not have to go through this. This family should not have to go through this, but I expect that from a school board that has zero diversity.
The district says this isn't about dreadlocks or race.
There is no dress code policy that prohibits any cornrow or any other method of the wearing of the hair. Our policy limits the length. It's been that way for 30 years.
A handful of speakers agreed with the district and pleaded with them not to make an exception with the rules, but the majority didn't buy the district's explanation.
We're here about Deandre, but it's bigger than Deandre. It's about all the other Deandres that possibly can come through Barbers Hill.
Deandre's family is hoping his hair doesn't derail a good student's future, and they vow to fight this until the end.
They have 48 hours to come up with a resolution. If not, we're going to take this to federal court.
Now, this is what I would say. Let's say it's my son. I would want him to cut his hair at all. Not whatsoever. I'll say, why is it I got to cut my son's hair just to please you? Not doing it. Then that school board, that never spells anything good. When you don't have no black folks at all, none, like no black people live there. So you have basically all white people making decisions for black folks. Like they have any kind of right to be doing that. That's first and foremost. You can't be making decisions about other people's culture. You can't. The thing is, black folks have always been attacked in this country about their hair, and they had laws against, like the Tinyon laws and different things that they have had about black people's hair. I mean, you know, I told you they try to micromanage black people, and for me, it's annoying. For me, it's very sickening. And black people, if you want it to stop, you have to make it stop. You have to do things like, shoot, say, forget it, grow your hair out. And so we all gonna start wearing our hair long, just so you could have a problem with it, because they can't stand it. I mean, like the great Paul Mooney has said this. He said, when black folks' hair relax, the white supremacists is relaxed, because it's just something about that natural hair that comes out of our head that really bothers them. Now, of course, this young man was getting a lot of support from people in the community. Even DeAndre Hopkins had, from the Houston Texans, had told him, don't cut your hair. And you know what? I wouldn't cut his hair at all. Well, he can't walk in graduation. Well, he's just not gonna walk then. Y'all keeping him home for some BS. His hair has nothing to do with him reading a book, taking the test, or anything else. It has nothing to do with it. And they should sue in federal court for discrimination, because you are discriminating against him for his hair. If someone walked in school with a hijab, you wouldn't say nothing about that, or they'll sue you. Well, it's the same thing with black folks with their locks. They should be able to sue you too. Because what that brother wearing it for, you don't know why. It could be religious for him. You don't know. You don't know if he believes in Rastafari, or whatever he believes in. You just don't know. So leave people alone, man. Like, nobody worrying about y'all hair that come out y'all head. Like, we never worry about y'all's hair. Never. We don't care how long it is, how short it is. We ain't trying to touch your hair. We don't do anything with you. We leave you the hell alone. But when it comes to our children and black men and black women, you won't leave us alone. See this, and once again, that's why I say that you don't deal with that on the continent. You just don't. You don't. You do not deal with it whatsoever. You don't. Because this is ridiculous, man. Like, you being singled out, you being put out of school because of your hair. That's it. We have a dress code. We have rules. And a rule, quote unquote, made 30 years ago. 30 years ago. It hasn't been looked at. It hasn't been revised. It's not culturally sensitive. It's not any of that. It's just white folks making rules and want to impose it on the Negroes. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, this is why. Why can't we get together and create our own schools? We wouldn't be dealing with these issues and problems. See, in America, you're going to deal with racism, yes, but we could do a lot to minimize it, too. You keep sending your kids to schools, and when our kids being treated like that, the black folks in that town should be able to get together and say we're pulling our resources together and creating schools for our children, so we don't have our child being suspended because of his hair, or having our children 4 times more likely to be suspended for stupidity, or putting them in the school to prison pipeline, or race soldiers engaging them, racist teachers engaging them. I mean, I can only go so far at times talking about what racism is doing, because they do what they do. We've been doing what they're doing. But when are we as a people going to protect our children? It's nobody else's responsibility to protect our children. See, that's that slave mentality to say, I'm going to depend on the slave master to protect me. I'm going to depend on the slave master to educate me. That's slavery in your mind. Well, why do we do that? Well, Phil, we pay taxes. And? So? Well, that means our child should be in public school. They don't run it right for your child. They don't. They're proving that. Our children do much better in schools ran by competent black people, of course, and with our children than in public school. They do. And I get frustrated watching these children dealing with these issues and problems, because I know the people should be preventing black children from experiencing any racism, at least in education, until they grow up. We should be able to protect our children at all times from that. I know they're going to deal with it, but we can minimize it by just creating schools right here. Why isn't that we ain't trying to create schools? Why? Why is that? Are we going to keep on being pissed off about them treating our kids this way? We already know the game. We already know they're going to do what they do. That's just how they do it. They can't stand us. They hate us, obviously. Okay, since we know that, what are we going to do about it, though? We're not going to do nothing about it, and we just need not to complain. That's how I feel about it at this point. Let's get together in your city, the black folks in Barbers Hill, that area. You get together and create a school. That's a local thing with the black community there. It should be a mass movement of creating schools for our children so they can get away from racism and white supremacy. It should never be enduring that. Well, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about the situation with our young brother. I mean, it just bothers me to the core. It bothers me to the core. And this is why I always say for us that if we don't invest in the education of our children, then who else will? Who else will? Now, before we wrap up this video, real quick, we're going to talk about, we have the 3 trips coming up, going to the continent, and make sure you get on them. Those of you who requested West Africa, this trip is because of your request. So make sure you sign up for it, to Senegal and Gambia in May. We also have the trip in September to South Africa, and also the trip to Kenya in October. So make sure you go in those links at the bottom. You can choose which one is a $500 deposit with that, especially with South Africa. All you gotta do is fill out the form, say you're from African Diaspora News Channel, and tell Mark you just need the information, like to pay a deposit for the trip. But let us know what you think about this particular story. Like I said, because I'm personally even getting tired of reporting on it, this kind of stories. I'm tired of it, because when are we gonna do something about it? When are we? When? The Democrats ain't gonna solve it for you. No matter if you vote down ballot, they're not doing crap for you. They're not doing crap for me. We are the only ones that can save ourselves. That's why we in the condition that we in also.